Brake calipers. I'm going to be changing the colour of mine, so this is your guide on what you need, how do you do it, and what can it look like. Here we go.
Right, in order of what we're going to use first. Your car's jack, this could be in the boot of your car, or if you've got one already, great. Jack stands, these are your second point of contact in case the jack itself fails, so these go alongside it just to support it when you're working under the car. About 20-30 quid online. Your breaker bar, now this comes with the locking wheel nut piece and the right fitment as well. I would use this when you're first taking the nuts off, or at least that first tension to loosen them. You don't want to be using your torque wrench for that, because then that will damage the springs for the long term. Then once they're loosened, you can sort of hand do them, or use the bar to go round and round. Then torque wrench. This is going to be really important for when you're tightening them back up. You're going to be finding the right Newton meters of torque in the guide or online, so when you're doing them back up, there's sort of stages and patterns that you need to do them in, which we'll talk about at the end. Then once you've got the wheel off, we're going to clean the caliper, so you can use some acid or iron remover, use a brush, whatever you've got. Just trying to get in there and get all the dirt off, so we've got a relatively clean surface on there. A bit of brake and clutch cleaner also helps as well. Then your paint needs something to grab onto, and a smooth surface is not that, so you need something to rough up the surface. So a bit of scotch, various grades, just to rough it up, take off the initial paint, or some very fine wet and dry sandpaper, sort of 1500, 2000 grit will do the job. And this polythene roll is going to help mask up the area as well, just to make sure we're not getting any overspray onto the car itself or bits of the wheel that we don't really want, and a bit of masking tape to cover up parts of the caliper that we don't want as well. Before we then add our etch primer, again, dirt cheap, probably a £5 a can. This is going to give you that primer layer, so when we start building them up, do a couple of layers of that. And then on top of that, once it's dried, we'll use the spray, the actual paint itself, a couple coats of that, and then finish up with some clear to go.
So lots of bits, lots to get through. Let's get cracking.
I'm starting here by taking off the nut covers. A temp peg seems to do the trick, but anything strong and thin with a curved end will do. While the car is still on the floor, use the breaker bar to loosen the nuts off, then begin to raise the car up using the jack. And make sure you check the position of it on your car, as there are reinforced areas on the chassis to do so, or it will break. Once the car is up, move the jack stand into position and then lower the car back onto the stand for support, leaving the jack itself still in place. You can then undo the rest of the nuts and take the wheel off. And here is the filthy brake dust covered caliper. Now, it was so baked on that I decided to go with an acid instead, and a thin wheel brush to get into the tight areas.
Follow this up with your scotch pad to rough up the surface so that the paint has something to grab to.
And lastly, the brake and clutch cleaner is used to give a final clean as it dries super quickly. Something not mentioned initially, but wear a mask, safety first, especially with all the paint and clear coat fumes in the air. Onto the etch primer. Give it a good shake to mix up the contents for an even coverage, and do a little test spray to ensure that it's coming out correctly and doesn't splatter all over the caliper.
So I've now put on 2 coats of etch primer, one light mist on the first coat, then a thicker second coat. You can put a third coat on, but we've got really nice even coverage that I'll show you here. So it looks really good, covered all over. Now, ready for some paint.
And for the paint, same steps apply. Give it a shake, give it a light mist and then a thicker coat, and it should end up looking like this, with a lovely shine and an even coverage.
So it's a bit late, sun's gone down, but I wanted to show you what it looked like after finishing up the paint, 2 coats of lacquer, drying it off, and then taking off all of the masking, and it looks really nice, really good surface. Now I've got to stick the wheels back on.
I ran out of time and light the other day to show you putting the wheels back on using the torque wrench, but I really wanted to show you exactly how to do it, and the importance of doing it in the right way. So let's pretend that this wheel is not on. I've got to put it back on again. The wheel is up in the air, and we've got to start again. So firstly, I'm going to thread one nut through into the hub so that it has a chance to place itself well, and then I'll hand put in the nuts. First off, torque wrench. You can get various ones from sort of £20 to hundreds of pounds that are digitized. This is a more manual one. You want to consult your car's manual or the handbook, or even online forums, to see what specifications that your wheels and the process it needs. So for my car, it says I should use 3 steps for the process. You want to start with 30. So on this, I'm going to pull this down, twist it all the way up to 30, which as you can see on there. Then I'll go to between 70 and 80, and then I'll finish up at about 120. Then the pattern. This is vital to doing up your wheel properly so that it has the right amount of grab to the hub itself. On my car, and generally most cars, you'll be in a diamond shape. So you'll start there, skip one, go there, skip one, go there, and so on until you do it on each 3 levels to the right level. On these and other torque wrenches, it will click or it'll make a beep when you're at the right level, and then you can move on to the next one. And that's about it. The last step, other than ceramic coating them, which I'll do at another time when I've got a bit more time to do the rest of the car or even the inside of the wheels, is decals. Now, I've added one decal already to this side.
So I've gone for white in the usual R logo. I think it looks amazing.
So I've just got to add that to the other side, and I'll show you how to do it now.
So to apply it, line up your vinyl decal, and this is obviously easier to do it with the wheel off, but after doing the first one, I was pretty confident I could line it up centre. Now, press down on all areas of it. The heat from your hand should also let it stick better when it heats up the glue, and gently peel off a film, and voila.
And there we have it. Absolutely transformed the car from these dull black ones that come stock to red, white decals. Looks fantastic against the blue, really pops. And the back's looking great as well. Just adds a nice splash of colour. I think red's such a classic colour for calipers as well. But yeah, I think they look amazing.
So that is how you change the colour of the calipers. Let me know if it was the right colour, red, what colour you would have gone for, and if there's anything else that you think you'd like a tutorial on. I will happily experiment with my own car if it makes it look that good. So cheerio.